Hello and welcome to PolyInnovator. This video is simply just letting you know that this exists. So polymathy has been the major niche for PolyInnovator for a long time, right? It's basically since the beginning. I started talking about self-education, but really that was because I wanted to become polymathic. I wanted to teach myself many different things, and so I created my own degree so that it could actually fit with that polymath education that I desperately wanted. So I couldn't find it in the world, so I created it, right? And that's where this channel started. But over the years, I've talked about what is a polymath, how to become one, how do you level up to polymathy. And that has been something that I've been very passionate about. And I even had what I called the multidisciplinary spectrum, which was essentially, it is a chart of all these different polymathic terms like generalist, jack of all trades, etc. And I have it in a linear way, so that way you can kind of identify where you are on the spectrum and how do you level up to polymath, because that should be the end goal. That is kind of the final thing. The Renaissance person is essentially like a more, I don't know, wide-ranging polymath, I guess is the best way to put it. And so I wanted to let you know that I have a special playlist and newsletter all about polymathy. So if you're watching me for the first time and you're finding this, here's a whole treasure trove for you. And if you've known me for a long time, you might not have known about this. And so first and foremost, that multidisciplinary spectrum started off as like a little mini series. I had this chart. I wanted to talk about each of these terms and what they meant. And so I started this little mini series, and that's what I started this playlist on. So let me go ahead and share it here. Come on, Meld. So as you can see, like the first few videos are my stuff here, but you can skip past that, it's fine. But especially since they're a little bit old at this point, 4 or 5 years old. But essentially I go in and talk about each level, basically leveling up to polymath. And the Renaissance person is kind of old school, but essentially it's kind of like that wide-ranging. Gentleman scholar is kind of like a dilettante, so it's kind of the person that learns a lot of different things and does nothing with it. But going back to the beginning of the spectrum here, you have that multi-potentiality to do many different things. Doesn't necessarily mean you've done those many different things. And so that's the start of the spectrum. You go jack of all trades, which is maybe 12 to 15 different areas of knowledge, but more of a novice or adept level. Then you go into the generalist, which you have maybe 3 to 7 areas of medium knowledge. And then you get into the polymath, which is 3 or more areas of expertise that are like specialist level. And PolyInnovator was literally just a way for me to explain what my name is, basically. I don't necessarily see this as a term people to use, but if someone calls themselves a PolyInnovator, we can talk about it, it's fine. And then that's where I started, curating. That's what I made this playlist for, is to actually curate all these different polymathy videos that I've seen, because I have found so many. So in the process of making these videos, and more importantly the blog post versions of each of them, which if you click the link here or if you go on to the newsletter I'll show you later, you'll see all the links, blog posts and videos alike, in these posts. And I wanted to create a massive playlist of all the videos within those posts, and that's where this started essentially. And so I have a few of a couple polymath researchers, one of which I've interviewed, one of which I'm going to interview. I have the Pioneer, who's my favorite YouTuber. He's someone that's very, very similar to PolyInnovator in a way, like the digital polymath is Pioneer. He's kind of more in like the biohacking thing, but it's one of those things where he's a great YouTuber, so I wanted to give him a shout out. Tim Ferriss talked about generalist, half a decade ago. Another great polymath content creator. She wrote a book about education with polymathy. We have the jack of all trades stuff. And so as you go through here, you'll see more and more of just different people doing TED Talks, or even like, Gary Vee talking about it in a clip and stuff like that. And I figured even this more basic stuff at the beginning is super interesting. But as you go on, you get more and more newer videos also talking about David Epstein's book Range, which is great. And I also had the finale here, which was kind of like a all-in-one in a way. And so it's really interesting to think about polymathy, generalist, digital renaissance, all these different terms, and yet no one was collecting them all. And so I wanted to share with you. Did I already add this? No, she has multiple. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it keeps going too. And so if you want to learn what it is, if you want to learn more about it, if you want to try to find a way to push the lever forward, if you will, and just see. And these right here is when we start getting to some of the newer ones. I actually have blog posts scheduled and planned that are basically taking each one of these videos and making a blog post about it. So how to balance multiple creative interests without burning out. She gives her point of view, and then I add my 2 cents underneath it. And let's get into the newsletter here, because this is essentially my thing, but I wanted to start highlighting these other great creators who might have had like a really great video but not really got that many views. These two did, but some of these videos didn't really get hardly any views. 3K views, 1.3, yeah, and so like 500. Like there's some of these really good videos that didn't get enough attention, and so that's why I really wanted to highlight these creators. Some of these creators are just big anyways too, which is fine, like this guy here, but because he's like a TikToker or was a TikToker. And so it's just one of those things where I wanted to highlight these people and come up with a nice, interesting response to it. But I also had my own posts too. And so, for example, I hosted a panel of Polymath researchers, and so I had that on there and showcasing the panel. But I have actual other posts too that I've written myself, talking about the multiplayer spectrum, the rise of the internet renaissance, and I have about 90 ideas alone just of my own content that I want to make. Plus, we have a whole bunch of the different videos that I want to write about as well. So I have over a year's worth, if not over 2 years worth, of planned content for this newsletter. And there's a lot of great stuff here already. As you can see, I've been doing it for a long time. And I just think that so many people didn't know about it. This is one of my favorite series that I did. So you start here, go into the micro, then macro. But the focus is something that I think a lot of people, especially polymath people, but actually even more especially, I should really drive that home, especially polymathic people, need to learn how to focus more effectively. And I think that I might need to make a new post actually talking about this even more so, because it is a fascinating topic and I think a lot of people do not understand it well enough. But yeah, and then you have the post that I mentioned earlier, some other really cool ideas like Avatar Aang as a polymath, which is kind of a fun little post. And so yeah, you have to even focus of a polymath was the first post in the newsletter. But yeah, that is essentially it. I don't need to talk too much more about it, but if you like polymathy, if you like the idea of a digital renaissance, and if you like the idea of being someone who is multifaceted, multidisciplinary, and you want to learn how to do it more effectively, watch these videos, read my newsletter, subscribe. It is free after all. And if you subscribe and you tell me you watched it from this video, I'll even give you access to the paid posts as well. So thank you for watching and leave a comment down below. Bye.